I do miss nasi lemak. I
Oh,
miss
man.
ikan bilis sambal the most.
That's very specific. Hello, everyone. I am Teratai, owner and intercultural trainer at Pro Compass Coaching and Training. Now, here at the Crossroads, I'll be having a heart-to-heart, one-to-one chat with internationals from all over the world, and especially if they are from Asia, on what it is like to live, work, study, or even start businesses abroad. Now, some of you may have some idea of what it is like to be away from family and friends for an extended period of time. But today, we're going to hear straight from them. Now, most of the internationals that will be on this channel have some sort of a connection with the Netherlands because that's where I am right now. They may have worked here or lived here or have studied here. Now, some of them did a project on the country or about the people itself. And that is the case with my guest today, Sangeetha. So, hey, Sangeetha, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really, really good. I'm really excited for today because Sangeetha and I actually did a project together about the Netherlands just a few months ago, and I was really happy because I get to work with an old friend of mine, which is you.
Yes.
Yeah. So Sangeetha, can you just share with the viewers like who are you and where are you now?
So I am Sangeetha,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm from Singapore, Singaporean Indian. I've lived in Australia and currently the US. So I've been away from Singapore for nearly 7 years to going to 8 years. And I am an full-time instructional designer, and also I do my own business as an e-learning developer. And I was so grateful for the opportunity to work with Tara and learn a lot about Netherlands during this project.
Yeah, it was really fun. Just just to give our viewers an understanding of how we got to know each other, Sangeetha and I were university mates, right? That was so
Yeah,
long ago. That was 13 years ago when we
yeah.
graduated. And it just came to me as you were talking just now that we did a project together, right, in university where we simulated an interview. Remember that? Yeah, and
Yep.
and one of our classmates was Oprah Winfrey, and I think I think all of us were being interviewed, and it just came to me that 13 years later, we are now in an interview together.
Yeah. I mean, all I remember during that project was like we were having a lot of fun. We were laughing, enjoying ourselves. So yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun. It's like some things kind of click, and I hope if ever a professor watch this, like they'll be proud. 13 years later, we
Yeah.
are now talking to each other and doing an interview. Now,
And it's nice to have, to know that sometimes some relationships don't like stop. We can catch up where we ended. So I just loved that when we connected and we had Nisha also in the call.
it
I
was
just
so
love that we were
nice.
able to just catch up and everything and be able to relate to one another.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think we are very lucky, even though we have lived abroad, that there are technologies in place for us to keep connections with back home, And I'm just glad that we got reconnected with each other after some time. And I'm really interested in your story, because you moved 2 countries, right? Like, how was your first experience from moving from Singapore and then to Australia?
I think my sister was my motivation to move to Australia, and also, for personal reasons and also professional reasons, I thought stepping out of the country will allow me to see the world differently. And I thought Australia will be a safe start to begin because my sister and my brother-in-law were there and are still there. So when I moved in with them. I mean, I still did have an anxiety, knowing that I've like just left my family and friends and a
Mm.
stable job,
Oh yeah, for
especially
sure.
working where we were working at. And it was like definitely like a shock for my system, but it allowed me to grow, to
Mm.
be independent, and to also I started off a tutoring business, and it was really good in a way where I felt like I think Australians had understanding of Singapore. So
Mm.
they were more open to actually work with me, and I had a lot of clients. I think to the extent where I couldn't take anymore. So that was a good part in Australia, where I felt like the transition was much smooth. I mean, there were like struggles, anxiousness, but I was
Mm.
able to overcome that because people were more inclusive
Yeah.
and welcoming. And it was different moving to the US.
Tell me more about it.
It
Why
was,
is that so?
I guess the culture is totally different. And I think, at least from what I've heard, it takes time to actually integrate in the culture, because there are a lot of, people are, I would say, highly divided here compared to
Mm.
Singapore, at least. I don't think,
Mm.
I don't get involved in the political culture, but it felt like conversations did lead into division. That was harder for me to navigate, because,
Mm.
I like us, inclusive, let's work together, work towards a common goal. And looking at the differences that separated people was a little disheartening.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
also in the US, one of the hardest struggle, in Singapore, teachers are really valued.
Yes.
And in the US, it's different.
Mm.
One of the phrases people have shared with me is teachers are the lowest at the totem pole. And I didn't understand what it meant, but you know, teachers are not very respected. They
Mm.
are paid, they're paid lesser, much
Mm.
less really. So I think all of that had an impact on me, because as a person, when you're in a place, you want to be valued for who you are, valued for your skills. So as an educator, educating the students who are going to make an impact in the country in time to come, I think it was a disheartening.
Yes, of
So
course. Yeah.
it was, I would say, a struggle to move from being an
Mm.
educator to instructional designer, because I think people did not have understanding that it is important as an educator. Learning design should be part of our teaching. It
Yeah.
cannot be separate. So, and I feel like we were really well trained in Singapore with learning design, the
Mm-hmm.
theories, and how important it is to understand the needs of the students and work with them for their success. So that was a struggle I had.
Yeah, I
Having
can
said that,
understand that. Yeah, like for a lot of our viewers, they would think that wow, moving to one country that's already tough, but you did it twice, you know, and hearing from you, there seem to be quite a lot of struggles compared. Do you think people back home may have some different ideas of what it's like to live abroad, and especially in different countries?
yeah, I think I think misconception, I feel like when you move country, people are like, oh, you're so lucky that you get to
Mm,
move country. Yes, it is a blessing to be able to move countries. Without the support of my parents,
yeah.
I don't think I would be able to do this move. But at the same time, there's so much that we are losing. Our
Yeah,
support system was the biggest thing for me. Having
yeah.
this great network of, family and friends support, both in Singapore and Australia, having to leave all that and
Oh,
moving
yes.
to the US was hard, because I did not have like my own family or, friends that are already
Yeah.
here. So that was a struggle. So, and when there are situations where I really need help, I realized that I
Of
can't
course.
just call, hey, can
Yeah.
you come and help me? Because I did not have that kind of relationships here where, people would just turn up.
Mm,
But I would say I did have one coworker who was really, I mean, who is still a blessing to
to
my
have.
husband and I, where
Yeah.
he did, come to support my husband when we were going through a tough time last
I
year. Yeah.
you know as an intercultural trainer, one of the first things that I try to tell to my clients, right, when you move countries, you should never underestimate the power of having a supportive network, right? Because when it's like you're a tree, right? And then the roots, you get uprooted when you go to a different country. You felt uprooted, suddenly feel alone, and having a supporting network is something that is very crucial that a lot of people underestimate. Would you say that? Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes, I really agree with that. And I can, feel that. So to me, it's really important. But having said that, when I first moved here, my group of friends were all above the age of 70. I was in a
Oh,
retired condo. It was
so
quite
cute.
fun. Initially, it was like I'm hanging out in the pool with the
For
older
the retirees.
generation. Yeah, retirees just chit-chatting. But they became really a strength for me. I was
Mm,
able to talk things to them, share about how I'm feeling and their experiences in life. They were able to sow seeds in me, like how to handle the change. And, they were just there to listen to me, this young girl going, like just sharing all my pain and sorrows.
oh,
So I'm grateful. But the thing is, I was there for 8 months and then we moved
oh,
into the city in Florida. So
yeah,
then we have to restart again to build relationship. I
precisely.
feel like it's on and off, and also living in bigger countries, I feel like people they tend to move, they don't
Mm,
stay in one place for a long time.
mm.
So friendships were very like I'll make a very good friend. Like, so one of my friends moved to Spain.
Oh,
She wanted to be
yeah.
a digital nomad. And I'm like, oh, then I've got another couple who are now intending to move as well. So,
Mm,
I mean, I value the relationships and I know that when we meet again, it will be just like us. We can, pick where
yes, we'll
we
pick up.
stop from, but it just feels sad, like you want that consistent network.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, that's actually, now that I look back at it, it is true when you are abroad, forming stable relationships or stable friendships is a challenge itself,
Mhm.
because especially when you live in a bigger country, the friends that you've made, just like the case that you said, like they move back to another part of the country or they move to another country, and then you have to restart your journey once again. Like it can be exhausting. So like, I mean, hearing from you, it sounds like you are very determined, you're very adaptable, you're willing to make friends with everybody else, of different ages, which I think it really helps in being able to survive in a foreign and unfamiliar setting, right? What other advice do you have for people that just want to move here or to want to move out of the countries?
I think personally, if I feel like each one of us should take that opportunity,
Yeah.
even for a short term, if you want to live overseas, to just to explore someone else's culture and to
Mm.
understand that the world is so much bigger than, there's so much to learn from one another. So I really appreciate that opportunity. So I would say if you have the opportunity, please do it. And I encourage my, students, like if you get to even go for internship overseas, just do it,
Just do it, right?
because that's where I think I'm so passionate about instructional design and learning design, focusing on inclusion so that people feel a sense of belonging, because it helps us to understand, look in the lenses of someone else, how they are feeling about situation, what do they need to be successful. All of these are so important for me, and being able to bring that in my current business that I'm doing as an instructional designer, it
Yes,
makes me feel, I guess, humbled
yes,
and honored,
yeah,
and to make me realize that you learn so much, like people say it's lifelong learning, we don't stop learning.
yeah.
So so I would really encourage. And also personally, I think you don't want finances to be a, you know like stopping
An
you from,
obstacle.
moving. So I would suggest, if you do want to move, then make good plans,
Yeah,
save
be
up,
smart about
be
money.
smart about it, or
Yeah,
be ensure that you have a visa to be able to work there, so that you're not having that burden,
yeah,
can I financially support myself. And
yeah. I've always one of the I'm with you on that. One of the advice that I would say for people that want to move is that you may have all the dreams of working abroad, but actually your finances is the vehicle for your dream, right? Like if you
Yes.
don't have, you didn't plan well, then it's going to be a harder time for you, because moving abroad is already hard, like I think you've been very forward in talking about the challenges of moving in not only one country but two countries, about how to be perceived, and the difficulty of creating relationships, right? And for you, I'm so interested because you started two different businesses, one the tutoring business in Australia and now the e-learning development in the US. Like, how would you compare your experience setting up businesses in these two countries? Are they wholly different, or is it like the same?
I guess tutoring business in Australia was, I think, fairly easy to set up
Yeah.
and be able to get clients because I knew, how to promote myself,
Yeah.
which websites to go to. I think for the US, I'm still learning. And one of the biggest thing I've learned is to have accountability. So I do enjoy when we get together to talk about what
Yeah.
we are doing because that holds me accountable of my next steps. And also networking. I'm an introvert, so I do struggle, interacting with people. But I've started to go to small networking events and go for workshops, how to network like an introvert and
Yeah.
reaching out to people. So currently I do have one mentor from the UK who's able to, advise me. So, and I think mentor is really important to learn from someone else so
Yeah.
that they can provide feedback on the work that we are doing. So I do treasure that. And I also enjoy opportunities when people are, I'm also doing a volunteering learning designer role, which helps me learn different skill set and being able to apply it to my business as well. So, learning design is so important because whether it is in schools or in businesses, we want to train people, ensure that they have the skills to be able to do the work they need to do, and also focusing on soft skills, empathy, critical thinking skills,
Yes.
how to collaborate well with others,
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
feel like I really love what I'm doing right now, but it is not easy
To
because
come to this path, you had to go through so many challenges, right?
yes, just to reach this, to allow people to see that, hey,
Yeah.
we have the expertise and skills and we want to work with you, help you.
Yeah. Were there, I really love your story because there's a lot of development, there's a lot of challenges that you have overcome. But, are there some things that you miss about Singapore?
Oh, yeah, I definitely miss just hanging out with family and friends. I feel like sometimes when I'm like sad or stressed, I'll meet up with my friend who just lives a few blocks away. Both of us
Oh,
would go
yeah.
for a long walk, able to, talk, that how important it is to just go out and have, the fresh breath of air that actually helps us.
Yeah.
I miss doing all of that, just having someone to just talk to, I also do not want to overwhelm my husband with everything,
Yeah.
having that support network, I feel is so important. And
Yeah.
obviously I miss food.
Yeah. Tell me more. What kind of food do
Even
you
though,
miss?
to think about it, America actually has a wide variety of cuisines,
Yeah.
but to me, Asian food has been diluted to
Oh,
suit,
of course. Yeah.
and I don't blame them because I do understand. So, their tolerance level for spice will be different
Yeah.
for, what I experience. And, my husband, being a white American, he can tolerate high level of spice. So it's just different for each one of us. So
Yeah.
I do miss nasi lemak. I
Oh,
miss
man.
ikan bilis sambal the most.
That's very specific.
That's my favorite food. Whenever people ask me what is your favorite food, I'm like, how do I translate this? What is ikan bilis sambal in English?
It's so cute.
Like dried anchovies. People will be like, dried anchovies?
Yeah. When was the last time you had that dish?
Oh my goodness. I think 2018 to
Oh,
December, I went
wow.
back to Singapore for Christmas. And after that, COVID hit. I think life changed.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. COVID does a thing to all of us, right? How was it like for you experiencing COVID in America?
It was, I think the climate in America was really, really stressful. We
Yeah.
had the George Floyd incident that truly, I think, surprised and shocked how much it affected me
Mm.
internally. I think just seeing what happened, how people responded to the situation, like totally rocked my body. I
Yeah.
remember crying for many days, not being able to sleep. Like, why are we so divided? Why are we not coming to a common ground? Be
Mm.
compassionate, help one another. So that really affected me. But other than that, I was home, and I was grateful that home was a safe place for my husband
Yeah.
and I to just, be able to just adapt to the new um
Normal.
like the new situation of the world where you
Yeah.
need to stay home, you couldn't really go out. And I guess it also impacted, I think, the education system,
Mm.
where where we noticed challenges, where I had international students where I need to teach them, where they need to be awake at odd hours, and I didn't want them to, because how
Yeah.
can you expect someone to stay up at 2 a.m. and learn chemistry? I don't.
Yeah.
So it allowed me to rethink priorities,
Yeah.
how to help people, not to stress them in a situation that already feels stressful and like lonely,
Yeah.
because that affects us emotionally as well. But I'm
Of
grateful
course.
for WhatsApp, because I was able to keep in touch with my family, be able to talk to them. That's something I do value, because the
Yes.
time difference is in a way where I can only text
Yeah.
few things in the morning and then I have to get to work. But
Yeah.
having that time at home allowed me to at least
Be
like
in
somewhat
contact with family
yeah,
again.
make contact with family. So
Yeah, I think
I'm
COVID
grateful for
was
that.
tough for everybody. I think I also understand when you say that texting is like one way we are able to keep in contact with family despite the difference in hours. I think people back in Singapore, people who have not moved, maybe maybe sometimes people take it for granted that, oh, your family is just next door, you can just walk over. The amount of times that I have missed important dates like birthdays, it's if I were to think about it just makes me sad. Yeah. And what do you think
Yeah.
about that? Yeah.
No, it just made me realize, because of time, because like I think we are like a day behind.
Yeah.
So when I see like, oh, like just few days ago, oh, this is my friend's birthday, I need to text her. Then I'm like, it's already 17th. So it's
Oh.
like, sometimes I feel sad. Like, I don't want them to think that I forgot, but, it's just that when I look at the date, I'm like, it's a day behind for me.
Yeah.
So those things like that is so important. I also do miss, just being with my parents. As they are growing older, you want to be there for them. So that's one of
Precisely.
the biggest, I think, struggle, not
Yeah.
being able to follow them to appointments. I think when I was younger, I was able to follow my grandmother,
Yeah.
the appointments, and I really value that time with her, because it's precious. So I do think about those moments that I'm missing, just being with parents. So, and it is a struggle, it's not all like, I
Yeah,
think sometimes people have
rosy,
this,
like what people would think, like
yeah,
we talk about the misconceptions before, right? People think that when you move abroad, oh, you must have a great life. But these are the real things that we miss out, right?
yes, just, gathering with families, that's part of our culture.
Yeah.
Whether it's Chinese New Year, where I know that my cousins, we all plan to have barbecue.
Yeah.
When I see the text, I mean, I'm still in my cousins group, seeing that text going makes me, happy for them, sad for myself.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
I share that feeling. And I'm still, of course, still in the family WhatsApp. And then they are all gathering, and I'm just here looking at the WhatsApp and looking at all the photos and them saying, oh, thank you for thank you for organizing the gathering. And yeah, you feel happy that they gathered, but you also feel sad that you cannot be
yeah.
there.
And the milestones, like I missed my, friends, cousins' weddings that make me sad. I'm like, I want to be there celebrating it with them, but just the way the year goes for us is different,
Yeah,
you know.
precisely.
So yeah, it's not all easy. It's the same, just like how we live in Singapore, all the struggles that we face, the good, the bad. I think it's the same living in any other country.
Yeah.
And being a person of color, I think that adds another layer here
Of
in
dimension.
the States.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me, I was reading recently Michelle Obama's book on The Light We Carry.
Yeah.
She talked about differentness, knowing that when you are in a room, knowing you are different, and people already judge you just by the look of who I am, even before getting to know me. It's a struggle I have, knowing that's not all the time, but some of the situations I am in, that's how people perceive me immediately.
Yeah.
And
Would you
I need
say
to.
that they're being misperceived? Because right now you are in the US, right? And I hear that being misperceived is something that occurs to you in the US. Would you say that that was the same for you when you were in Australia?
Well, yeah, that's the difference. I did not feel it in Australia. So I think that's where I struggle. Like, because, yeah, that's where I struggle. And I cannot point out why that happened. So I think that was my biggest struggle, like trying to wonder why I was able to assimilate easily in Australia, but I was trying to struggle here, trying to show people who I am, you know, a woman of color being a science person.
Yeah.
It's not well represented here in the States, and we are working towards, changing that narrative.
Yes.
And that's difficult. When I go to healthcare systems, I think people, assume that I can't speak English, I don't have knowledge of science, when it's all completely opposite. And I will be like, have to advocate for myself.
Yes.
Like, if this is what I need from you, then I need to advocate and not just receive, or we can't treat you,
Wow, that is horrific. It's not something that people think about, right? When they move abroad, when you move abroad, you're very excited because you're moving abroad. But living abroad, there are certain realities in life and struggles that are very real. And how to advocate yourself is certainly a skill that you need to harness over time. Like, how do you start advocating for yourself when you're living abroad?
Well, I do speak up for myself when I notice any form of if I feel like I'm not treated similarly to someone else. So, and I guess I'm more sensitive when it happens, when you know that you're being treated differently. I don't get it does make me upset and sometimes really angry, but when I have to communicate with someone else, I need to take a step back and try to understand where is this coming from, and put it to them nicely. Hey, this is what I'm feeling, and could you, I might have misread the whole situation. So giving them the opportunity to explain so that we can have like understanding, okay, maybe this is whether I misread it or maybe they misread it. So giving that like benefit of doubt is also important, not to just write off the whole system itself. And we know that a lot of work to do in the States to break down a lot of systemic issues.
I'm really proud of you for saying that you will actually give them an opportunity to learn. I think this stems back from our educational background, right? Both of us. And being misperceived is one thing, but being able to advocate yourself is a skill to harness. And when I've lived abroad, I've been in the Netherlands for the last 5 years, and there are times where I've been misperceived, right? And where people ask me questions, and as a person of color myself, I truly understand where you're coming from, but instead of being immediately offended, which that it is our right to feel that way, like if we just take a step back and try to think of where is this person coming from, why they're asking this. Then we just ask them like, oh, why do you say it that way? Like, where do you get this kind of information from? And it's just having a small moment to ask them, that it could be a learning opportunity for the person itself. Because I honestly believe that people with such, unconscious bias or ignorance, it is because they have not seen people like us or have not interacted with people like us. And instead of ignoring that issue, we can also be part of that solution, right? Yeah.
Yes. And also, when people make comments like, oh, you sound different, I think people don't realize that you sound different to me as well.
Yeah.
Like it's a two-way thing, but it's fine. And also that I think English as a first language is, people typically think it is US, Australia, UK, maybe Ireland, like certain countries, they associate English with certain countries, but they do not realize that our first language as Singaporeans is also English.
The amount of times that people have come up to me, I mean, not in the Netherlands, but when I was traveling for work, the amount of times people have come up to me and said that, oh, your English is really good. And I'll say thank you. But there are parts of me that felt quite ingratiated because Singapore is is the lingua franca itself. But because we come from a small country in the world, right? Unfortunately, a lot of parts of the world do not know where Singapore is located on the map. So they have this misperception, that we have to actively inform them that no, Singapore is a country of its own and we speak English with our mother tongue.
Yes. And that's where I feel grace comes in as well, really to understand where people are coming from. And, I mean, I do appreciate all these challenges because I think it really grows me as a person.
Precisely.
I mean, I do get upset, angry, I cry, but after, on the other side, I'm like, what can I learn from this? How can I ensure somebody else do not feel the same way as I do? How can I? So that's why I love what I do, because education, I feel, is the most powerful tool to help someone really understand perspective from, different cultures so that we can grow together. And I still have a lot to learn here. So
precisely. I'm really happy that you are being very real about the emotions that are attached to moving abroad. You talked about in the beginning feeling anxious and having crying and so on, because those are the very same things that I felt when I first moved abroad, because everything is so unfamiliar. And I mean, I broke my foot while trying to cycle in the Netherlands in the first month, because I was trying so hard to fit in, and trying to learn all the cultural norms and trying to cycle like the Dutch, but it is a struggle, and it is part of the journey to have to go through it. But if you seek help, find a supportive network, and just continue not to push, but not ignore your problems, but you just continue on to be determined in your own way. You can look back onto your journey and like, hey, I've reached here and see what I've overcome. Right?
Yes, to persevere. Yeah, that's and I really do. I have to say that, learning about Dutch culture as I was working on the project with you was really good, because I love what you're doing, being able to educate people, because you're empowering people to give them the skills to navigate the Dutch culture. And I'm like, I wish we should do that in every single country. When someone new comes in, how can we empower them, allow them to understand the country's history, why people act the way they act.
Oh, thank you so much. This is so sweet.
And the conversations, when I was working on that project with you, I felt like I learned so much. Like, if I'm in Dutch and I'm in Netherlands now, I feel like having some understanding of how people act the way they act will
Yeah.
give me, some
An
encouragement.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so sweet, Sangeetha. I was not expecting that. So excuse me if I blush a little bit. But like I think that's where we actually had a lot of commonalities, because I think we do what we do with purpose, right?
Yeah.
And I think along the way, even when we move countries, that we want to educate others. Like even with your work in DEI and e-learning development, right? There is a means to educate others around us in whatever that we can do, and trying to raise the levels of diversity, of equality, and inclusivity. Oh my God. But like I think that's very important. And even though when you're abroad, right, it feels very lonely to be abroad. But if you have like a bigger mission, it gets better. Like you just have to persevere, that things will get better. And with that said, now that you have been away for 7 years, Sangeetha, that is a milestone. Okay, that's crazy. 7 years, 2 countries. And then if you look back, right, to your 7 years, what would you say to your younger self before you went on these world trips, world life-changing trips?
I think to be willing to take risk, because I felt like in Singapore I was more reserved, like, think about things a lot before I make a decision. So I'm like, younger self, I think it's okay to make mistakes. Don't beat myself up for it. And, if I want to do something, just go ahead and do it. It's good, okay to fail and get up
Yeah,
and learn again. I feel like all these are learning opportunities.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just
Spoken like a true businesswoman, taking risk. And then opening up 2 businesses, that is really quite a feat, like really, really admirable. I'm as a friend of yours, like I'm really proud of you, Sangeetha, honestly.
thank you.
It's not easy. And for all of us that is back home in Singapore, thinking of moving, like remember Sangeetha's story. Okay, she moved 2 countries, she started 2 different businesses, and she never gave up.
Thank you. You're so kind.
Yeah. Okay. This is my favorite part of my videos, right? So this is the part where I ask my interviewees whether they have any messages for their family and friends back at home in whichever part of the world, Sangeetha. Here you go.
Well, I guess this is for all my family and friends in Singapore and Australia. I truly am grateful for, being a great support network, despite me being so far away, for providing me the space to share what I go through and encouraging me, advising me, and most importantly, never giving up hope on me. So thank you. And I can't wait to see all of you all soon. I really hope that day comes very soon.
Yay. I hope they watch this and know that you're always thinking of them. Yeah.
Yes.
And for that, Sangeetha, thank you so much. I feel like I learned a lot from you, and I know that our viewers know a much better reality of living abroad and still overcoming all the challenges. And
Thank
to
you for your
everyone
time.
back home, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.